Hello, welcome to day 6 of my 12 days of Cricut Christmas crafts with Debbie O'Neill. I hope you've enjoyed the other days so far. We are halfway through the list of 12, and today's project is going to be about making banners. So we're going to make a holiday banner together, but I'm going to be sharing with you my design tips for how to want my whole thought process when I sit down to make a banner. We're going to talk about different banner shapes and the advantages over some over others. We're also going to talk about images and sizing and lettering of the text fonts. Making sure that we talk about how to elevate your banner to the next level by using specialty papers, and also some tips and tricks on how to put it together so that you have a beautiful finished product. So we will be putting the banner together if you choose to make the same one. Of course, the design space file and the supply files are in the description of the video where you see this video on my YouTube channel, and so you can recreate the same banner. But let's get started. I wanted to show you the image in Design Space of my completed banner once I got it all designed, but I wanted to briefly go through and explain to you how do I go about creating a banner. How do I figure out what I want to use? How do I put it together? Now this one is obviously a holiday theme one, but you could use these same tips that I'm going to share with you for any type of banner that you're going to be doing. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you will go into Design Space and go into Images. And in Images, there are a ton of banner images. So I'm just going to pick banner. And the banner is the back piece. It's the piece that creates the look and feel of your banner, and then you'll add elements on top of that to decorate it. Okay, now banners come in a lot of different forms and a lot of different shapes, and depending upon the look and feel of the banner that you want to create, you're kind of, the sky's the limit on if you want it more frilly with scallops on it, or you want it more simple. If you want it to have these are like overlays. So, I mean, you can use any of these banners. So you would just search for some banner pieces. Now, most of the banner pieces have a little hole in them where you're going to thread your hanging device through, whether it's ribbon or string or twine or whatever. And so you will look at that. But sometimes you pick a piece that doesn't have the holes in it, right? And you can use the slice feature to add holes into your banner piece if you want. Now, this one doesn't have holes, it has little slits in it. So some of the banners that are already pre-made in Design Space have the little slits in it. And so that makes it nice for when you're threading through ribbon particularly. Anyway, so there's all different types of banners, but what you're going to look for if you're going to make a custom banner, you want to pick one of these as an individual image, okay? Instead of the ones that like is a group like this. This is more like for if you're going to put on a card or a scrapbook page or something. If you're going to make individual banner pieces that you want to hang, you don't want to use one that's already one of the grouped images. That's my advice. And this one here, you can see that this is a banner, and I like it because it has 2 layers to it. Okay, so it has a background layer and it has a top layer, so that I would be able to make, use one material on the bottom and another material on the top, and then still be able to decorate it. So that's nice. But this piece doesn't have any of the little holes in it. So I would have to, if I use this one, I was going to have to think about, going through and slicing all of that and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of scroll through and look at all the little banners. See, like this one is really cute, but this is going to make like a little tiny little banner that would be great to put on a card, but that's not an individual banner piece. So, and you can kind of go through and scroll through and you'll see, and there's a ton of banners in here. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a feel for what you're looking for. This one's kind of a nice different shape, and it also has the 2 layers. That's what I look for in a banner piece, is that I want something, because when I create a banner, I want it to be stable and I don't want it to be kind of flimsy, I guess would be the best way to describe it. Particularly since I'm going to be adding other layered elements on top of it, it needs to have some weight to it so that it's going to support whatever else you're going to put on top of it. So I like these ones that have the 2 layers. Like, I love this banner. That's a nice banner shape too. It's a little unusual, but it looks great. And it also gives you plenty of real estate on the banner piece for you to add other embellishments. And let's see. So, and then there's the one, this one is a very traditional banner piece, the one that has the V on it. Now, the one thing that I want to say about using a piece like this for your banner piece is that it meets some of the requirements. So it has the 2 layers, which I like, and it already has the holes in it, which is a bonus. But when you're working with this type of shape, the problem is that your real estate area for the image that you're going to put on here isn't very big, okay? So you need to think about that, because if you're trying to make something where you want bigger images, iconic images, bigger letters or whatever, they're not going to fit on this banner as well, because so much of the real estate of it's taken up by the shape of this V on the bottom. Okay, this one's great for maybe if you're going to put a smaller image on it, or if you're going to put use like make some of those rosettes that you can make in Design Space and put a rosette and then put the letter on top of it. This banner would be awesome for that. Okay, so we're just scrolling through. I'm just kind of trying to give you some tips and point out some of the different banners that are in here. And there's a banner that I used, and I'm going to get down here to it. So this is the banner piece that I picked, and I picked this because it has the 2 layers and it has the holes already in it, so I don't have to worry about doing any slicing and measuring all of that. And it has a lot of good real estate here for me to put images on. Okay, so that's how I picked this banner, and the fact that this banner is, I'm kind of making more of a traditional holiday type banner, so it's a traditional shape, so this is cool. Now you can use individual image shapes that are like a shape of something, like a cat or a dog or a book or whatever, if you wanted to make your banner pieces out of a shaped image. But this particular project that I'm going to show you guys, I am using the banner pieces, as you can see here. All right, so once you picked your banner piece, then you need to decide how big you want your banner piece to be. Okay, so your banner piece typically is depending upon how much real estate it is that you want to take up when you hang your banner. A banner piece needs to be at least a minimum of 4 inches, but really probably 6 inches is the traditional standard size of a banner piece. So for a decent size banner. So I'm going to change this to 6 inches in height, and then that's going to give me my banner piece. Okay, so the banner pieces, then you want to figure out, okay, now that I picked my banner piece out, what do I want on my banner? What kind of shapes and images do I want to have on my banner? Do I want it to spell out something? Do I want it to just be different icons? What is it that I want it to be like? So this banner, the theme of this banner was in my house, just think through this process with me. I wanted to create a holiday banner because it's the holiday time. I wanted my holiday banner to reflect what I decorate in my house. I am a collector of Santas, okay? My entire Christmas tree is all Santa ornaments. I have a lot of Santas that I display around the house, and so I wanted it to reflect that particular theme that I have in my decorating, which is Santa and believe in the spirit of Christmas and that type of thing. So that's where I came up with the theme for my banner, was I want it to be the word believe. And when I started thinking about the images that I wanted to use for it, I decided to go through and find images that mean something to me about Christmas. Okay, so that's where I came up with the images that you see here. Okay, so Santa and a candy cane. I hang candy canes on my Christmas tree. Snowflakes, I always think of Christmas. I wish it would snow. I live in Houston. It doesn't snow here very often on Christmas, but just the idea that it's going to be cold and wintry for Christmas is just this, visual image that's great. So I wanted snowflakes on my banner. And then, of course, Christmas tree. You have to have a Christmas tree. And then holly is something that really is something around the holidays that I love to see and decorate with in my own home. So I'm using, for the eye, the dot on the eye, I decided that I was going to make the holly kind of like the dot for this eye in the word believe. The tree is representing the L, okay? And then of course I have another E, and the E, I also hang Christmas stockings, and that's something that my kids, even though my kids are grown now, I still do a Christmas stocking for them. That's kind of their gift, and I collect all kinds of stuff throughout the year when I see something I think they might like for their stockings. So the stockings have special meaning in my family, okay? So the point I'm trying to get here is make your banner something that means something to you or reflect the type of party that you're having. Let's say you're making a birthday banner and there's a theme for your birthday party. Hello Kitty, or whatever it is, think about that, and then you pick shapes and images that reflect that theme. And of course, the reindeer is definitely popular right now, so I wanted a reindeer on my banner. And also, my side of the family comes a lot of hunters. We grew up hunting in Texas, and so the deer is kind of something that's familiar to us, so that was nice to put on there. And then of course, Christmas to me, it means giving, and it doesn't always mean presents, but it means giving of your time, giving of your giving of yourself, giving of your spirit, and presents kind of represent that, and being present during Christmas, right, in the sense of participating and enjoying your time with your family and your friends. And then, of course, you can't have a Believe banner at my house without a Santa on it, because I collect Santas. So I have Santa and ho, ho, ho on here. So this is my thought process when I start designing a banner is, where am I using this banner? What is it going to be representing? And then that's how I start picking out the images. Okay. So that's where this came from. So I started by picking what banner piece I wanted. Then I started picking what elements I wanted to have, what words I wanted to have on it. And then I just kind of played around with the whole thing and figured out what images represented the things that I wanted on my banner. Okay. So that makes it really easy to be able to do that. And the more often you make banners, the better you get about picking out a theme. There are a ton of images in Design Space. So all I do is I just do a search, and I wanted to look for Santas. So I looked at all the Santas until I found a Santa that was the Santa that represented what I wanted on my banner. Same thing for the snowflakes or the reindeer or whatever. There were a few things that I did on this that I wanted to show you, though, that are just tips in Design Space that I wanted to make sure that you could see what I had done. All right. So I am using the black as kind of my background image on the layers. So all my letters have black on them, okay? And I'm using black glitter paper. You'll see that when we get to that part. So you want to have a cohesive theme when you start thinking about your materials and what you're putting on your banner, so that each individual piece coordinates with the next one, okay? So that when you hang up your banner, it looks like they weren't individually, thought about, that the whole project was thought about at one time, all right? So the black lettering kind of grounds the whole banner, so that it has that particular reflection, okay? And then the images, obviously I just talked about that, represent the things that would be part of this type of a banner for the holidays for me and my family. All right, so once I think about that, then I do image searches, and then the images start coming up and I add them to my mat, okay? And once I get the images up, then I start playing with the sizing, okay? So for the text, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to type in a B. And I just wanted to show you guys. So for the text, I would go in and pick a letter. Now, I use the Cricut Sans font because, one, it's free. Everybody has it in Design Space. But the other thing is it makes a nice kind of chunky looking font that's easy to read, and it gives you enough space that I can add these other embellishments around it. Okay, so you want to think about that. What does the look and feel of your banner represent? And then pick a font that helps you with that, that supports that. If I was making a banner for a baby's birthday party and it was a little girl birthday party or something like that, I would maybe pick a more fancy font that looks more girlish. All right, does that make sense? And so your font that you pick has a lot to do with how your banner is going to look as well. So then once I've picked the font and I put, I'm just showing you the example, and I have the B, I kind of move that B around until I get it the way that I would want it, and I am not above unlocking it and moving it around to the shape that I want it to be. Okay, this font, the B, looked kind of wider than I wanted it for my banner piece, and so I just unlocked it and moved it over. So don't be afraid to manipulate some of the fonts to get it to fit on your banner the way that you would like to see it and still be able to use it. Okay, so then I would do each letter. So I went through and I did each letter. And this particular banner, I have a couple of objects that are representing the letter, and I don't have the actual letter on my banner. You may not want to do that. You may want to have all the letters on your banner. That's fine. So once you get your letters set and you kind of size them to the size that you want them to be on your banner, that's going to be kind of your personal feel of what you want those how big those letters need to be on the size of banner you pick. So this one was a 6-inch banner, so I ended up with this piece. It's about almost a 4-inch letter. Okay, so it's a substantial looking size letter. All right, so once I kind of figured out my lettering, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to have my images. Now once I picked out some images and I started putting them on my banner, I started deciding what orientation do I want them to be in. So I wanted to show you guys this because a lot of people don't realize, let me move this, the Santa image, let me get this one on here just so I don't have to look for through 100 different Santas to show you. Okay, 3590D. Does that give me my Santa? Yes. Okay, so this is the Santa that I ended up picking when I looked through all the Santas in Design Space. Okay, so this is the Santa that comes in, and what do you notice about this Santa? Okay, the Santa in Design Space comes in and the Santa is waving the other direction, right? His arm is the other direction from the one I ended up using in Design Space on my banner. When I started laying out my banner, I'm like, I don't want my Santa waving off. I want him waving towards the other images. So all you have to do is once you get your image size the way you want it, up here in your layers panel, there is a section up here called flip. And all you have to do is hit the little drop down and it's going to give you some choices. It's going to flip it horizontally or it's going to flip it vertically. If you flip it horizontally, watch the Santa. He changes to the other orientation, right? He's now waving the opposite direction, which is what I wanted for my banner. Okay, so don't be afraid to go in and take an image, and if it's not, I think I did the same thing on the candy cane. I think the candy cane went the other way, and then I flipped it. So that's the one thing that I wanted to show you guys, is be sure you can flip your images. The other thing is, once I got some of my images on here, and I'm going to go do the next one that I want to show you. Let's see, the holly. Get the image number for the holly is M, and there's a bunch of holly, so I'm just doing this just to make it a little quicker for us. Oh, I forgot to put the hashtag. Hashtag M. You always have to push the put the hashtag in. M8B37063. Okay, so here's the holly image that I picked. All right, so I'm going to put this on the mat to show you. Okay, now here's the holly image. All right, so I sized the holly image to the size that I wanted it to be, but when I went to go cut this out, the darker gold here on my banner represents the background piece, and I use gold glitter cardstock. And then the tan piece on top is all different pattern papers. So each one of these is a different pattern paper. So, and it's going to be up to you what you decide, and I'll talk about that when we actually start working on the project. But what happened was, on the piece of pattern paper that I wanted to use that holly on, it kind of blended into the background of the paper too much, and I wanted it to stand out more. But this particular shape in Design Space did not have a layer to it already. So here, let me show you what I did. I left clicked on this, and I went over here into my layers panel, and I did a duplicate. Okay, so I duplicated it, and then I'm going to take that same image, the one that I just duplicated, and I want to change everything on here to white. Okay, now I've got this, and then I'm just going to drag it out just a little bit so that when I move this one over, it looks like it's going to lay on top of that image, just like this. And then when I put the banner together, it actually stands out more on top of the pattern paper that I picked for that. Okay, so you can sometimes manipulate the a duplicate image and just size it out a little bit, and then to get it to be another layer for your image. I did the same thing with the reindeer, because the reindeer only had this is just a deer image in Design Space, and I added the little dot, I added a circle from the basic shapes to be his red nose, and then I did the same thing you just saw me do here, where I took the deer image and then I did my own little shadow. Okay, you cannot make your own shadows or offsets in Design Space right now. It's not a feature that's available to us, so this is kind of workaround of doing it within Design Space. Yes, you can take that image out. It's a big, long, complicated story, and I'm not getting into that in this tutorial, but you could make a shadow in another application if you needed to. But this works good enough for my purpose, because there again, I wanted to make sure that I had that black theme running throughout my lettering. And since the deer represents the letter V, I needed some black on there besides the paper that I picked to cut the deer head out of. All right. So let's see, those are some things. And so I do a faux offset is what I like to call it. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you guys was, once I get all my elements onto my screen and I get everything sized the way that I want, of course, be sure and save all along the way. When you go over here into the color sync and the layer next to the layers panel, go to color sync. And I have, as I was putting these on the mat, I was changing the color of certain ones so that I would know what color I was going to cut it out of. Okay, but there were some of these images that came in and they were all different shades of red. All right, so as a for instance, so you look down here, and this Santa that came in does not match the red that I was using throughout the rest of the banner. So did you know that you can just go grab him and pull him up and put him here in with the other reds, and now he changes to that red? A lot of people don't realize that, and they're frustrated because they're trying to get things to match and it's not matching. Now remember, the colors on your Design Space screen are just an idea. You can certainly cut anything out of whatever materials that you want and whatever color it is that you're actually using, and just the images in Design Space just give you a visual representation so that you can get a feel for what your project's going to look like, right? Without actually cutting it out yet. The other thing that I like to do is I don't want to have 4 different shades of red material that I'm having to cut all these pieces out of, unless that's the way I designed it, right? But more or less, I want the feel and look of my banner to have the same red all the way across it, because it ties in my theme and brings that color across the different pieces. Okay, so that's why you kind of do the color sync thing, and that's very helpful. And then once you go to cut this, now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these because it'll be confusing to see more than one now that we've talked about this. But what's happened is I have color synced all the various pieces for this particular banner that I made. I'm going to go back to the layers panel. And then when I hit make it, as you can see, all the blacks are on a mat, all the red is on a mat, etc., 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 and so forth. Okay, so all of those get put on the correct mat, and then I don't have to have multiple mats that I haven't cut. So really, I just wanted to show you those things. Now, the other thing I did want to show you, I forgot to do that. When I go to make it, and I'm going to say continue, and I have to click which machine I'm using. When you go into set materials, and I'll show you the different ones that I'm using, but what's happened is that I'm going to be cutting some of these, and I don't want to have to keep going through the browse all materials and picking out the material each time. It would be nice if I could just kind of move through the process. So what I did was I went into all browse materials. This is your favorites. So your favorites can be set in the set material list, and a lot of people don't realize this. So what these little orange stars mean is that I have marked these particular things as my favorites, and I think you can have up to 10 now in your favorites. So I'll show you how we do this here in a minute. And then the little C's on this represent that it's Cricut material, so it's the setting, and for the cutting is set because they know the caliber of that material, so Cricut's already preset those. So some of the materials I'm going to be using on my banner is glitter cardstock, the Deluxe pattern paper, shimmer paper, sparkle paper, and the medium cardstock. Okay, so I went through, and if I go over here to browse all materials, you have your all materials list, right? And you can go in and pick your favorites, and it's just going to give the ones that you've already marked as favorites. Okay, I'm going to go back to all materials, and over here, let's say that I was going to use a foil poster board. Okay, I could go in here and click this little orange, the little star, and it's going to turn it to orange, and then come down here. I have to pick it and then come down here and say done. And now that it's added it to my favorites that's up here, so I would have these readily available. So normally I have, if I'm working on a banner project in particular, anything I'm using the same material over and over again, I will change my favorites all the time. I don't always leave all my favorites up there exactly the same. If I'm doing a lot of iron-on shirts, let's say, and I'm using multiple types of iron-on vinyl, I will go in and add all the different specialty vinyls as my favorites, and so that they're right there for me to grab, and I don't have to keep going and looking on the list. So that's just another little tip for you guys. Okay, let's get to the fun part. We're going to talk about all the materials and tools that you need to work on the banner, and then we're actually going to cut the banner out, and you're going to watch me put it together so that you can see all the tips and tricks that I have for making sure your banner looks awesome. Now that we're ready to start making our banner, I want to talk about the supplies that you need when you're making banners. Today's banner is using different types of paper, so we're going to focus on the tools and adhesives that we would use when we're working with paper products. You can also make banners out of fabric and burlap and a canvas and a variety of other materials, but today's class is about working with different types of paper, so that's what I'm going to be talking about. And some of these are the supplies that I'm going to be using in class, and I'll let you know specifically which things I'm working with. All right, so obviously we're going to need adhesive. So I always use my Tombow permanent tape runner. So you'll need a tape runner, and make sure you have plenty of refills, because nothing's more annoying than to be working on a banner and then you run out of your adhesive. Also, for the little tiny pieces, the layering on some of the images, I like to use that glue pen, and it can be a Zig 2-way, or this is a Bonding Memories Close to My Heart dual action, but it's the one with the chisel tip. It's the one that I use for that fine work. Also, a liquid glass glue or a liquid, Scotch Quick Dry glue. This comes in handy for several things. The main thing that I might use this for is if I'm applying a material on top of glitter cardstock, you want something that's going to grab onto that glitter. And so I will use a liquid glass glue for adding stuff on top of glitter paper. Or my other choice would be using some double-sided tape. This is that Score Pal tape that I really like, that you guys see me using. And so that's the other one. And then I like to elevate my elements on my banner. So I may, and I'll show you guys that when we're working on the banner. But you want to have some foam dots or some foam tape if you like the look of it not being a completely flat banner. So you'll need that. And it comes in variety of, either circles or squares. Typically, you can even get like a long strip of tape that's rolled up that then you cut with your scissors. And so you'll want some of those handy. And tool-wise, I like to have on hand my spatula and my scraper tool, so that as I'm lifting things up off of my Cricut mat, I'm able to do that. Now, we'll be using a light grip blue mat for most of these materials, so but you want the one that's fairly sticky, that hasn't lost a lot of its adhesive qualities, because you want to make sure your material stays in place when you're cutting, of course. And for the little teeny tiny pieces and some of the layering, I do tend to rely on my those little fine tip tweezers that come in the weeding toolkit. All right, so I'll have those. And I also like to have a Cricut, just a black, this is a fine tip one, but a medium one's fine too, but I'll use this. And you'll see in this particular project, we're going to do it on Santa's eyes. We're going to color in his eyes with this. So I always have one of those laying here. And then, of course, you're going to need something to hang your banner from. Once you get it made, and assembled, you'll need to hang it from something. So you can use ribbon, different lengths of ribbon, whatever you want to use, widths of ribbon. You can also use, like a twine or a cording, or like those, the curling ribbon. You can use curling ribbon. So there's a big variety of things you can use to hang your banners up. So it's your personal choice. And I always want to make sure I have scissors handy, because of course I would be cutting ribbon. Now, as far as the base of your banners go and the materials that you're going to use, there is a ton of different choices out there. So depending upon the look and feel that you want for your banner, then those are the types of materials that you're going to select. So obviously cardstock is standard when you're working with banners. You can make a banner just out of cardstock, all the layers out of cardstock. It still looks cute, and with a variety of colors, it can still be adorable. Cricut has a whole new line of cardstock that cuts awesome in the Cricut Explore and Cricut Maker machines, and it comes in different tone packs. So this is a green tone one, and it's got multiple shades of green. If you guys can see that, it's got multiple shades of green in it, but they have them for blue and red and brown and yellows, and all of those different tone colors. So cardstock is really good. If you're struggling with finding some cardstock that you like to cut on your Cricut, this one will of course be a perfect one for that. So cardstock is a typical base for and used for making banners. All right. Now, the other thing that you're going to see is that you can use some pattern paper to add a little pizzazz. And Cricut has a whole line of deluxe pattern papers, and they are double-sided. So double-sided means that they have one pattern on one side Okay, and then they may have a different pattern on the back side of it. This particular paper pack is solid color on the back and pattern paper on the top. Okay, so it's just every pack's slightly different, and you can look at those variety of them, and there's a huge amount of different styles. So depending upon the theme for your party, you can find some paper that you really like. Now, I did want to let you know that in today's project, I'm going to be using a paper pack that is from Echo Park, and it's A Perfect Christmas by Lori Whitlock. And this paper pack, I like the paper packs just like I like the deluxe papers because everything coordinates. So you know that if you use any of your papers from one of these paper sets like this, all the colors are going to coordinate. All right, so that's the advantage of, instead of going and trying to find a bunch of single colors of pattern paper to use, doing a paper pack works out really well because you're able to know that it's going to everything's going to coordinate with each other. Okay, so pattern paper is one other thing that you can use when you're making banners. All right, and then there is a whole world of specialty papers that you can put on your banners to add that extra pizzazz beyond just cardstock and pattern paper. So Cricut has a couple of different products, or actually several products that I really like. This is sparkle paper, okay? And sparkle paper is like a glitter paper, except see how shiny that is? That's because it's like it has a clear coating on the top of it. So there's a couple advantages of this. One, and I have this shape on here just to show you it cuts out beautifully. One advantage is that it gives that extra little shine to your projects, and it also means that it's not that gritty look to it. It looks almost like it's got an epoxy on top of it. So it gives you a different feel on your projects when you use this is the sparkle paper, and it comes in a bunch of different sampler packs with different colors. But so there's this is one of them, and then they have another product that I really like. I'm sorry, these are all sticking together. It's the shimmer paper, and the shimmer paper is kind of like the sparkle paper, except I'm going to hold the sheet up here so you can see the difference. Okay, so the shimmer paper is really pretty, and it is more, it's like an overall glitter, but it's still smooth. It's not gritty, okay? This one, which is the shimmer paper, the red one is the shimmer paper. Look at the difference, okay? The shimmer paper is the one that has like an acrylic coating on the top of it, and then this one is flat, is completely smooth, but it still gives that sparkle and shine. Okay, and this is their shimmer paper, and it also comes in big variety packs of colors. And another specialty material you could think about using on your banners is the foil paper. So the foil paper is really pretty. Oh, and I happen to grab a pack. I have a bunch of, oh, there we go. So the foil paper is really nice, and it gives you kind of that metallic look. All right, and it comes in a variety of different colors, and it gives you a metallic look. So this is another good one to use when you're making banners. Plus, the specialty papers, like the foil paper, are a little bit thicker, almost like a cardstock, so they hold up really well, even if you want to use them as the background on your banner. And then you have deluxe paper foil embossed paper, and so this one happens to be more of a craft cardstock that has the foil on it. Really pretty. This is another Cricut one. This is called the Kraft Sampler, Kraft Seasonal, I'm sorry. And they have other ones. And then this is a foil embossed paper that's gold on white background. Okay, did you even have any idea Cricut had this many pretty specialty papers? Lots and lots and lots of them. And they're high quality papers. They work great in the Cricut machine, and they really add that extra touch to your projects. And then there's glitter cardstock, okay? So glitter cardstock, of course, is beautiful, but it has a slight, I'm sorry, I thought I had grabbed a sheet out. Let me show you. Okay. So glitter cardstock, while it is absolutely beautiful, the Cricut glitter cardstock does not, when you brush your hand on it, the glitter does not come off on your hand, okay? So some glitter cardstocks that you may purchase at some of the craft stores, you want to check for that, because the last thing you want is to leave glitter all over the place. And some of the glitter cardstock packs, definitely the glitter's not really adhered as well, I guess, to the paper base. So when you're picking out materials for your banner, just kind of think about that. But the Cricut glitter cardstock is really pretty, and I know that the glitter's not going to come off of it. Okay, so there's that. So we've got all of these different materials that you can select from to make your banners. So you're going to see me using certain things on the banner that we're about to make together that we designed earlier, but you go with what you want to use. Okay, you don't need to use exactly what I used. If you don't like, I like a lot of shiny and sparkle and kind of that, you know, the whole holiday merry and bright kind of attitude. And but you may decide that you would prefer that your banner looks more country, or it looks more homespun, and so some of the craft cardstock might be better for you, you know, to use. So it's going to be up to you what you use. You're going to see me using a variety of materials, and I'll talk about each of those as I'm using them. All right, let's get started. Let's get started making that banner. Okay, so we're going to put together the banner pieces that we've cut out now, and from the Design Space file. If you're following along with me and when you want to make the same kind of banner, what you're going to notice on the Design Space file is that there is a background layer to the banner. Let me do this. So there is a background piece to the banner. Now I'm using gold glitter cardstock for my background, and all my bases are the same gold glitter cardstock. Okay, it's the Cricut cardstock, so that's going to be my base. And then the second layer that goes on top of that is going to be a pattern paper in mine, and the pattern paper is represented by one single color for all of these, because I don't know exactly what you guys wanted to use. So you can you know, you'll just cut out there's 8 pieces to this banner, so you can either cut out all the same pattern paper, you could cut out cardstock if you want to use cardstock instead. I'll let you mix that up however you want. Now you can see here I have used 8 different types of pattern paper as my background. Okay, so you're going to have a cardstock, you're going to have a base to your banner, then you're going to have a topper basically to it. Okay, and depending upon what materials you're using, you decide how you want your banner to look. Okay, but that's what I have, that's what's going on here. So every banner has those 2 pieces, and then each banner has their own letter that goes on it, or representation of a letter to spell out the word believe. Okay, so these are cut, I cut mine out of black glitter cardstock. I thought it looks really pretty in person, and it just adds that little extra oomph to it. So every one has a black background to the layered image. Okay, it's got that on there, and then you're going to have your elements. So your elements are going to be made out of a variety of materials, whatever you decide you want to make them out of. But I used, for the white pieces, I used white cardstock. For the red pieces like this, I use that's that red shimmer paper. I'm sorry, it's sparkle paper. I use the red sparkle paper out of that sparkle paper pack. Okay, so all the red on my project is all cut out of the sparkly one is all cut out of that same paper. All the white is all cut out of cardstock. Okay, and so we're going to have those, and then I'm using the green in that sparkle paper as well, and some of the pattern paper. So when we worked on putting our project banner together and selecting things, that's when you can kind of go in and decide, okay, well, I know that I want to spread out my patterns or my materials across all 8 banner pieces. Okay, so what I did was I wanted to make sure that I had I knew that I was going to make Rudolph in the buffalo check pattern paper, and I wanted to have this same pattern paper represented somewhere else on the banner, so I added it here to my Christmas tree. Okay, and then I'm using the green here, the green sparkle paper here, and here again, and over here, and a lot of the layers have some kind of white added to them just to kind of keep them from looking too dark on some of the darker pattern papers. And let's see what else. So I kind of kept most of my embellishments are going to be in black and the red and the green and white on the banner. And then that way I kind of have a cohesive look. When you look across this, you can tell that this banner coordinates. All right. So when you start picking out your materials, that's how you need to kind of think about it, is what would look best depending upon what you're making. So you may not be making a holiday banner. You may decide you want to make yours a birthday banner or something. So you may use particularly themed papers and colors to match your particular theme. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of explain kind of how this got to be the way it is, and that I consistently use the same types of materials across all the banners so you have a cohesive look. All right, so once I start cutting out my pieces for the banner, my number one tip for you is that I always go ahead and I start putting my layers in piles. So like I know that this was going to be the first banner. So as I started working on cutting these out, I went ahead, I had my background, then I had my second layer, which is the pattern paper, and then I had my letter that I put on there, and then I found what pieces to go with that layer, the layered image, and I just kind of laid them here. So as I start cutting and getting ready to assemble, I go ahead and lay everything out. That way I know I didn't miss anything. I have everything the way I want it. Or sometimes you pick something and then when you cut it out, you're like, I don't really like that much. Then that's when you can go back and change it, right? So you can switch it out with something else that you like better. But once I get all the pieces cut out and then I kind of stack them in the groups for the banners that I'm going to be using, then I go into assembly mode, okay? So the first thing I like to do is I am a stickler for putting all of my layers together first. So my layered images that are going to go on top. So that's what we're going to work on. And I'm just going to start in the top corner up here. I'm going to move these guys off to the side so you guys can see me working here. Okay, so I'm just going to we're going to put the Santa together. And because this is not a rough, because this sparkle paper has that like epoxy look to the top of it. It's not a rough surface. It's completely smooth. I don't need to use any specialty glue to glue this together. I can use my Zig 2-way pen. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to talk about each of the different adhesives that I'm using and why I'm using them for those particular pattern papers. And I think earlier I forgot to mention that I am, of course, using my self-healing Cricut mat to keep my desk area clean and just work on top of this. Plus, it makes a nice grid for lining things up. Okay, so I've got my Santa hat. You're just going to match up the edges here. Da-da-da. Look how pretty that is. It's so cute. All right, and then we have the candy cane's going to go on this layer. So we've got the big Santa hat, the bee in this, and then we have a candy cane. Okay, so then you're just going to adhere the candy cane together. Okay, now typically when I'm not on camera, I would probably just be playing holiday music in the background. I don't know what you guys like to listen to when you're crafting. Now I'm going to move on to the next banner piece. I'm going to do all these little layered images first. Okay, so the gold, I'm using the gold glitter paper that I used for the background of the banner piece. I'm also using here the same exact thing for these little snowflakes. Now, when the snowflake pieces, the background pieces cut out of cardstock, I don't know if you guys can see that very well. It's hard to see on white on the camera, but it has little cuts in it, okay? And that's so that you know how to line up your piece. So you would just kind of turn this until it looks like it's the right orientation and it's lining up with those cuts. And then that way you know that you have your layer matched up. Okay, so there's the finished one of these. And there's two. There's a small one and a big one. So we're just going to layer these on. And this is certainly you can do in stages. So, you know, sometimes I'll cut everything out and then I'll work on it while I'm watching TV or doing something. You don't always have a whole lot of time to dedicate to making a banner, so don't feel like you have to do it all in one step. Okay, so then we're going to talk about the Christmas tree. Okay, so the Christmas tree is a glitter background. Okay, and then these are the pattern pieces, more or less, that are going to go on top here. Okay, just like so. However, this is glitter paper. The black is glitter paper, remember? And that glitter paper does not like this, and it does not like the tape runner either, okay? It prefers that we use a liquid glue to be able to get stuff to adhere to this. So I'm going to use the liquid glue. All right, and it's been a little bit since I used this glue. I keep a straight pin and a piece of washi tape on the side of this that the straight pin sits in, so that anytime my glue gets clogged up, I have a little pin right there available to kind of get the, you know, the glue that dries in the tube. And I know there's a bunch of different types of glue, you know, things that people use, so it's really kind of what works for you. But I like this one because it dries really well. So I've just put some glue on the back of this, and then I'm going to flip it over onto my cardstock. Now this glue, this to the image, all right, and then I can use this on the back of the sparkle paper, and I can use it on the back of pattern paper. Okay, so I'm just going to lay those on. But the trick here is getting it to stick on top of that glitter paper and hold on there. So that's why a liquid glue is the one you want to use for that. All right, I'm going to layer this up here. Okay, so we'll have that one done, and then we're going to work on the holly pieces. Okay, so the holly creates the I for in the word believe, and the tree represents the L. Okay, just so you guys know that you're not missing a letter. The tree represents the L. All right. Now, this is the one that did not have a background shape to it for the holly, and I just did my own little offset on it. So it's not going to match up absolutely perfectly. Now I'm just using my liquid glue here because you can certainly just use the liquid glue instead of getting the glue pen out. Since I already had it sitting here open, I'm just using that. You can use either one because the sparkle paper, the Cricut sparkle paper, is a paper on the back. Okay, it is like a cardstock on the back of it. So the white is cardstock and the back of this is cardstock, so you can use the dual action glue pen on that or the liquid glue. And you could use a tape runner if you want. It's just that some of this is a little more intricate and it's just easier to use this. But that's your personal preference. That's what I always tell everybody about glue. Everybody has a preference of what they prefer to work with. And of course, I just had to drop that on camera, right? But I'm not going to worry about it. So for this, I'm not worried about that it's going to be absolutely perfectly matched up. I put it on so that these little pieces, the green is on top of the white, and I lined up the bottom edges of them. Okay, like this. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the little red sparkle paper dots that go on top of the white circles. So that's going to represent our holly berries. And the thing about putting all the layered images together first is that it gives it a chance for it to dry before we start adhering it to our other paper. Okay, so I'm just going to set these over here, and this is where you can also use your tweezers here to help you pick that up. And we're not gluing these down yet. We're going to wait. We're going to glue all of these images onto our other base project here after these dry. So we're just getting all the layers done. Okay, and then we have this set, which has the little stocking. So I'm just going to put some glue along the edge of the top of the stocking, and there again I can use the Zig glue pen, or you can use a tape runner if you want, but I have the glue out, so I'm using that. So this is the only piece that needs to be glued together for this one. And then we have our reindeer. So the reindeer is another one of those shapes that did not have a background, and I knew I wanted to use the buffalo plaid paper for the deer because that's kind of what's trendy right now. But and it matches my color scheme for my decorating for the holidays. Anyway, so what I wanted to make sure was that this didn't get lost on the pattern, and it looks okay, but I wanted to tie the black in because we have the black lettering on all the other letters, and the reindeer represents a V. Okay, so you can kind of see that represents the V. All right, so I wanted it to have its own background layer, but I couldn't find an image that I liked in Design Space that was the reindeer shape that I wanted. So this is the one that I showed you where I just slightly increased and created my own little offset, but it is intentionally not completely matching because you can't do that in Design Space yet. And but it's good enough for what we need it for, and I'm going to add some glue on here, and it will give you that kind of grounded moment there on the back of this, so that it will it just makes your lettering kind of pop better to have it with the layer behind it when you're doing banners. It just looks better. Okay, so I use the liquid glue because, of course, I'm gluing paper onto the front of glitter cardstock. And I'm just going to touch that and make sure it goes down. And then we have Rudolph's nose is the shimmer paper. But I am going to, let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and put Rudolph's nose on. Okay. All right, so Rudolph's going to be done and ready. All right, and then we're going to work on the package. Okay, we're zooming right along. If you're not working as fast as me and you're watching the video, just pause the video. Some of y'all are new to this and it takes you a little bit longer. Now this is a shimmer paper. That's that sparkle paper, I'm sorry, the sparkle paper. And so it's the green, and then I'm putting the red over it, and you just match up the edges. It's not difficult to do. Okay, so we've got that, and that's going to go here on top of our E. And then we have Santa. Now Santa comes in a million little pieces, and this one, and you have the ho 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 in white that's going to go on this banner. Now we have all these little pieces for Santa. I'm going to move it off. Well, I guess I'll just do it on top of that so y'all can see it better. All right, Santa has multiple layers, so we're going to have all these little pieces here that we're going to be working with Santa. Okay, I'm just moving these off. I had them stacked just so I could make sure that I had them all. Okay, and this is where I really like using my little fine tip tweezers. Okay, there's that boot, and there's this boot. Okay, so the boots have two pieces to them. Okay, so they have a boot shape, but then they also have like a top piece that goes on it as well. I'm not quite sure why the file is made that way. I guess maybe you could, I don't know, it's not the right dimension. I guess you could pop it up possibly, I don't know. But if you don't want to add that little top piece on there, you can leave those off. All right, and then Santa has so I'm using the red sparkle paper for the Santa. And then this is, it's just kind of a creamy kind of color because that actually helps you create Santa's face. Okay, so this is multiple layers on top of each other to get the final Santa image. So you're going to start with the background piece, which is going to be that whatever color you use for Santa's face. And then you're going to glue that on top. All right, so I'm just going to use the liquid glue because I have it right here. But I could use my glue pen if I wanted. Okay, and you're just going to line that up so that all the edges match. Okay, so we've got the first layer of Santa done. All right, now the next layer of Santa needs to be his beard and face. Okay, so I'm just going to add some glue on the back of this. And then you're just going to line it up with the little pieces, and it's like it's his eyebrows that are most helpful for lining it up. So then you have his beard on. Okay, and there is a little bit of you see a little bit of his nose and his mouth that hide underneath that. If you guys can see that, see right here. Okay, now we'll wait and do Santa's face in a minute. All right, then we're going to have the belt piece. Okay, so this piece goes along the edge, and this is the trim along Santa's coat. It also is, this is his arm and that's his hand right here, and then this is the belt piece. Okay, so that's where that goes. So we're going to glue that on. Okay, so there's that piece is on now. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and put his other hand on. So there is a piece that looks like this. That's white cardstock, or I cut mine out of white cardstock. And this is where I can start using the tweezers even more, is on these smaller pieces. I can use it, hold it in my hand, and then add my glue on top of that. And then layer the piece onto Santa and get it to match up. Okay, and then there is a little white circle. That is the ball on the end of Santa's cap. Okay. Get that on there, right? Okay. All right, so now we have some other pieces that we need to add. So we're going to add Santa's belt. And that's this piece that looks like this. And that goes along this white. You're just layering that black on top of the white. Okay, and then we have a gold, the gold piece that looks like this. And I use gold glitter, the cardstock for mine. And I use the black glitter for my belt and shoe pieces, gloves. Definitely want to use the liquid glue because you're gluing onto the glitter paper. Okay, Santa's starting to come to life here. Okay, then we're going to add his mittens basically. And so this piece is the one that goes on the left hand glove, for his left hand glove rather. Okay, and it goes right here. This is the most tedious part of this, is to put the layers together, but it really makes sense to do it all at the same time so that the pieces can dry. All right, and then you have another one that looks like this shape. Okay, and this one is the other glove. Okay, so now we've got his glove on, and now we want to add his boot. So there's two boot shapes. One is rounded at the bottom, and the other one you can tell that it's the boot. Okay, the one that's like this goes on the left foot. And then the one that's rounded on the bottom goes on the right foot. And there again, I'm just using the black glitter cardstock for mine. Because Santa's the star of the show for this banner, and I wanted him to look all spiffy here. Okay, then you have these other two pieces. So there's another one that looks like a boot. Okay, that was part of this file that got cut out. And it goes on top of that left foot, but I don't see any purpose of doing that, and it's kind of too small for us to get the adhesive tape under there, foam dots underneath there. So I'm not even going to worry about putting these on. You're not going to be able to tell on the banner. Okay, so Santa is dressed, and he looks super cute, right? Now, there's one thing about this. When you cut this file out, it cut these super tiny little pieces, and if you were not careful, you may have lost them. They look like little ants. They're little teeny tiny, okay? There's two of those. Those are supposed to represent Santa's eyes, okay? Yes, Santa needs to have eyes, but you will go blind trying to do those. Add those on there. If you got them, you saved them, and you want to glue them on, great. But I want to show you my tip. When I have pieces that are little tiny like that, I will just use my Cricut pens and I will draw in his eyes. So I can go back and look at the design and go in and add in the design where it looks like his eyes are. Okay, and now Santa has eyes. We're ready to go. That was super easy. Just draw them on and don't worry about trying to get those little tiny slivers on there. Okay, so now we've got all the layers glued together. Good job. And we're going to go back. I like to start at the beginning now, and so these can continue to dry until I get to them. And now we're going to go back to the first letter, which is our B. And I'm going to glue my pattern paper on top of my background piece. Okay, now I'm using glitter paper for my background, and I'm using pattern paper for my top layer here. You have a couple of choices here. If you want your banner to be extra dimensional, you can add some foam tape to the back of this and pop it up more. Okay, I'm electing to pop up just the letters and the embellishments. So I'm going to glue my banner pieces, my pattern paper, onto the back of my banner. But that's going to be up to you depending upon what you're using and the look that you like. And because I'm adding mine to glitter paper, I'm using the liquid glue. If you're not using glitter paper as your background, then you can use whatever adhesive you want to get yours to stick. Okay. And then you're just going to line up the holes. The great thing about this banner piece is it already has the holes in it, so you don't have to worry about that. But I want to really stick this down and make sure that it's on there really well. Okay, so we're going to do all the banner pieces like this. Okay, so that's how you're going to glue them down. And then we have our letter and our embellishments. Okay, so just to give you an idea, it's going to go on here like so. All right, so I am going to add some adhesive, some of my liquid glue to the back of my Santa hat, and I'm going to pick up my B and I'm going to go ahead and lay it on there. Okay, and it'll take a second till it grabs on good. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my candy cane. It's going to go down here. So I know I only need some adhesive on about that much of my candy cane to get it to stick. Okay, and a dollop on, let me do this way. I need a dollop down here on where the end of the curve is. And I just want to hold those on until they dry, till it grabs it. Oops. Okay, and I can use my spatula to lift it up off my mat. Okay, once it's adhered well enough, these pieces are adhered well enough to each other, then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of it. I'm just going to go ahead and take some of these out of here so you don't have to keep hearing the cellophane crinkling. Okay, so I'm just going to add some foam squares to the back of this, and that's going to help lift it up off the background of the paper and give it that dimensional look. And it just adds a little bit more fun to your banner. Now, I'm using some squares that are already cut. You can certainly cut these smaller if you need to. Okay, and the trick for making sure that you have enough on there is when you lay your banner, when you lay your piece down, is it sitting up? Is it flush? Okay, that looks good. And now I'm going to be able to add this to the front of my banner. Got to take my liner off of the little pieces here. And you can get the foam tape in lots of different places. You can get it at the craft stores. You can order it online from different vendors. I have a whole drawer full of foam tape because I really like to use it. Okay, so the other thing we need to think about before you start putting your layer on, I forgot to say this. All right, so you're going to have ribbon or twine or something that you're going to use to put your banner together. I just cut a short piece to show you this because you need to think about this before you put your layers on. So I'm going to put my ribbon through here because this is the ribbon I'm going to be using, but of course I'll use a whole roll of it. All right, so I'm going to use this ribbon to hang all my banner pieces together. All right, let me just turn that. All right, before I start figuring out where I want to put my banner pieces, I need to have an understanding of how big a ribbon I'm using or what I'm using up here, because that helps me determine how low do I need to set my letter, okay, so that it's going to show up well. So this will be good. And we'll just press those down where I put the foam tape. And then you have this adorable banner, okay, little piece. And we're going to do this for all the other pieces and get to the point where then we can go back and we can put the banner all on one big long string. But I just wanted to give you the concept by using the short piece. I don't want to confuse you guys. All right, so we're going to work on the E. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to add, since I'm using the glitter paper, I don't want to put too much, but I don't want to be stingy with it either. Okay, and then I'm just going to line it up with the holes. Hold it down. Make sure it's stuck well. And then I have the E that's going to go here and my snowflakes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive, my foam dots to the back of my E. So that it will be prepped up. And if I put it where any of the little adhesive shows on the back of it, I will just take my scissors and trim that so that you're not going to see that sticking out from behind the letter. I'm just taking the liner off the back of the foam dots. Okay, now the E is going to go here, and I'm kind of turning it at a slight angle. And then this little large snowflake is going to go here overlapping, so I'm going to put some foam dots on the back of the... Okay, I put one foam dot on the back here. Okay, right here where my finger's pointing. And then this part right here, I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive on top of the end of my E, where I'm going to do that because I want this to stick. And this foam dot here is going to help keep the layer even when you go to put this down. Okay, since I already popped up the the E, then I want to make sure that this is also elevated. So I added one little foam dot underneath that. So let me see if I can show you guys that. There you go. So you can see how it's popped up. And then so that it'll stick well, I added just a little dollop of the liquid glue under this, and I didn't need a foam dot on top of that part. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to add the small snowflake goes on that side. Okay, I'm going to determine where I'm going to put this, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glue. And then lay that over and press down. Okay, so now this piece is finished. And then we're going to, the tree is next, the L. And there again, same thing. I'm going to put the adhesive on the back of the paper, and then I'm going to stick this onto my glitter cardstock, and you've got whatever you're using. Okay. Now banners can be made for all occasions, any time of the year. They add that little extra festive touch. You can make bigger banners. You can make small banners. One Christmas I made some little ones that went on my kitchen cabinet, and they spelled out different words. But they were mini. They were like, I don't know, like maybe 3 inches at the most. All right, and then our other piece is already all set with the tree. So all I need to do is add the foam tape on the back of this. Stick those down on there really well. Take the liner off of them. Of course, birthday banners are probably the most famous type of banner, but you know, you can make banners for baby showers and anniversary parties and graduation parties. And so learning how to make banners is an important thing when you're crafting with your Cricut. Okay, so we've got our tree on that represents L, and now we're going to do the holly with the I. Okay, so the banner, the eye piece is in glitter for me, and I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of this. Okay, and we need to put our background piece on. So let's do that. There again. I hate to cover up Rudolph. This is the cutest Rudolph paper, but it didn't go with this banner, so I'll have to use the rest of it on something else that I can use it for. Okay, but you can see how as you start to layer and put the specialty papers on, it really elevates the look of your banners. Okay, we've got that on, and then I'm going to put get the liner off of the foam tape for the eye. Okay, now I'm using kind of the center point of the point of the banner kind of as my guidepost there. Now I am gluing my berries onto my pattern paper for this one, like so. But I'm going to elevate my holly leaves. Okay, so I'm going to put I have some little tiny foam squares I'll put on the back of these. But you can just use your scissors and cut some out if that's easier. Okay, so I'm going to elevate the holly part, the green holly part, and I put the berries onto the paper, but I'm elevating the holly pieces. And I'm just adding a little bit of foam tape to the back of it. Okay. And you could certainly, you know, have popped all of this up if you wanted, but I just think it looks more interesting when you have some different levels. Okay, so there is the holly piece for the, that represents the eye, the dot on the eye. Okay, so the next letter we're going to do is another one of the E's, the one that has the little Santa stocking. And there are two small stars that go with this image. And you can kind of put them where you like. I'm going to just move them off of here for the moment. And I'm using those little fine tip tweezers. I'm telling you guys, I love these things. I use them for everything. Okay, so back to the gluing. Hang in there. You're going to have a beautiful banner here in just a few minutes after we finish assembling it. Okay, here we go. Lay that on. So for the E, we are going to pop the E up, so I need to put my foam squares on that. It just adds so much more dimension when you take a minute to do this. Your banner just looks a little extra special. And for the holidays, you want something extra special. Pretty much any time you're going to hang a banner is for an extra special moment, right? Okay. All right, so we've got this E. I'm going to put it up here. And then the little tiny star, I just put a dollop of the glue, and I'm going to pick that up with my tweezers and just lay it right on top of that glue to add a little star there. And then I am going to add a foam dot on the back of my stocking towards the bottom, like so. And then I'm going to add some glue along the edge here because that's going to go on the bottom of the E. So it looks like the stocking is hanging off the E. Like this. Okay, and the other little star, it's big enough you can actually see it better. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this, and I'm just going to tuck this right here. I'll hold this up and show you guys. Okay. Super cute. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Okay, so now we're moving on to the reindeer. And same song, second verse, as they say. Put the glue on. Flip this over. Lay this down. And then we have our reindeer already assembled. And you may notice that after you put some glue and it started to dry, if your piece starts popping up just a little bit, just just take your finger and bend it back. I live where there's high moisture in the air and we have a front coming in, so it's definitely feels more like moisture than normal. And so I'm getting a little more lift on these than I do sometimes, but it's super easy just to, you know, bend it kind of back into place. Okay, so we're going to put our reindeer on. Okay, so that's super easy. Looks cute. I like the little red shiny nose using that sparkle paper. All right, so we've got another E to do, the last E, the gift package E. Okay, so that's down. There again, we're going to put foam dots on the back of the letter. Okay. Okay, so there is the E. I'm going to move this down because this box, the box is going to go on top here. So I want to make sure I have enough room to put when I put my ribbon on here. Okay, so there again, I'm going to put some foam dot on the back of this. I kind of put it just underneath where the bow part is, and then I'll add a little liquid glue here in the center. There you go. Okay, little gift box on the E. And now the last piece of the banner. Yes, we finally made it here. But you will admit that it is looking super cute. And hopefully you're picking up some good tips on how to make your own banners. And using a lot of different specialty materials really helps bring a little more pizzazz to your banners. They look a little more professional, a little more fun. Okay, so Ho 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 is going to go here. So I'm just going to put a couple of dollops of glue on some of the bigger parts of here. You don't need much to hold this down. And this I cut out of just the white cardstock so it would hold up. And I'm going to angle it just slightly. Tap it down. I think I missed a spot for glue. Okay, and then we're going to pop up Santa. I think I'm good with, I think this ought to hold it up. I just put 4 foam squares on the back just to kind of support the weight of the piece. And then Santa goes right here. Sticking it to my finger. I want to stick it to this, not my finger. Okay, there's Santa. Okay, so the Santa piece is done. I'm going to hold each one of these up real quick so you guys can see them up close. So we have the bee. the E with the snowflakes, the tree for the L, the I with the holly, the E with the stocking on it, the V, which is the reindeer. Here, I'll move these over, because now I want to start lining them up and getting them ready to put the whatever thread, or I'm using ribbon on mine. Here is the other E, the last E, with the gift on it. And then we have Santa bringing up the end of the banner. Okay, so I'm going to get the ribbon out and thread this through real quick. I'm going to show you guys how I did that. Similar to what I did here on this first piece, where I was just using it as the example. And then we'll have our banner ready to hang. So now that we have all our banner pieces together, what I've done is, like I showed you earlier, where I just started stringing it through the piece. I have about 6 feet of ribbon that I used for my banner. Of course, you can use whatever, you know, hanging device you want to use. It could be ribbon or cord or whatever. But one thing I do want to mention to you is that I always tie at least on the 2 ends. Okay, so the B was the beginning and the Santa was the end over here. I always tie a little knot or bow or something on those ends so that my banner's not going to be slipping around on my cording when I go to hang it. So to do that, now for this one, I went ahead and I did it in between all of the pieces because I wanted a little more of this cute black and white gingham ribbon that I got at Michael's. And it's a cloth ribbon. It's a nice ribbon and it ties easily. So all I did, let me just show you, I just cut about 4 inches, and I'm just, as I've spaced them out, so you, depending upon how where you think you're going to hang your banner, you may have a bigger space that you want to stretch the banner pieces out. I have a smaller space, so I tried to get it, you know, more compact. I end up with about, I don't know, about 10, almost a foot on each end of the ribbon is just for, you know, to hang it with in the spot where I'm going to put it. So, but for this, I'm just tying it in a little knot. I just made 1 loop on it, and then I'm taking my Cricut Fabric Scissors and trimming the ends of the ribbon into, you know, just a little diagonal, just to clean it up a little bit, make it look sharp. And then I have all of my banner put together and ready to hang up. So I hope you guys found this useful and inspiring for you to make your own banners. I hope you picked up some tips about kind of elevating the look of your banner by using some of the specialty materials. And I really appreciate you watching the tutorial videos. If you missed any of the other days, please go back and watch those. There's lots of tips and tricks in them. Please share the videos with others so that they can also learn, and be sure and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my tutorials. Happy crafting!